Davis day. It's a little chilly, but I'll take this rather than having it be 95 degrees in the shade. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Peter Christian, I'm the GM of the plantation. I want to welcome everyone to this gathering. You can't hear us, Margie? Okay, well, Chrissy needs to jack it up then. We don't want to blow anybody's hats off in the front row. A few introductions. Lois Wilkinson is here, our board president. Lois, raise your hand. Okay. John Herron, VP. Where's John? Over here. Jim Lucas, our treasurer. I saw Audrey King, our recreation committee. I did not see any other board members. Did I miss a board member? Okay, if one comes in, we have Todd Lindstrom, our assistant GM. Chrissy Christian right behind me. Margie Letkowitz. Where's Margie down in the well? She's going to be doing our Q&A when we get to that portion. Warren Gaither, our newly elevated Director of Security for Hillhead Plantation. And next to Warren, I think everyone knows Tamika Busby.
You bet.
We promoted Vanessa Green, who is the first shift supervisor, to Deputy Director of Security, and we just elevated Tamika yesterday to be the first shift supervisor.
Right.
It is no longer Sergeant Busby, it is now Lieutenant Busby.
Right.
But we're trying not to let that all go to her head. Leah Davis, our communications coordinator. Leah is going to be taping this like we did with the last coffee, and we're going to make another attempt to put it up on a YouTube, and we will post that so others can see it. How we got here. You guys picked this as the next project for the capital transfer fee. We were supposed to have a meeting in May on this item, and the pandemic got in the way. The Recreation Committee sorted through all of the survey data. They provided a recommendation to the board. The board honed it down, met with the development team, who are going to be introduced here in a moment, and we boiled it down to about a $2.8 million project. It is not everything that we want to do. It is a large chunk, and the rest of it can be phased in over a period of time, much the same way we did with the Spring Lake pool. Right now, and Todd, you correct me if I'm wrong, we have about 1.9 million in our capital fund. So we're about, by the end of this year, we should have comfortably about 2 million, maybe 2.1 million. And obviously, every sale that goes by, that number goes up. So we feel comfortable that we can recommend to the board, and this is going to be up to the board, that we could probably start the project after it's bid in the spring, and continue to fund it all the way through the end of the year. Tom Parker and the Wooden Partners team will talk about how long it will take to do it. But there are many, many elements in there. The renderings are unbelievable, and I'm not going to steal their thunder as they introduce those elements. So with that, questions and answers. Margie is going to be our Vanna White. She will have a microphone. If you have a question when we get to the Q&A, she will come to you, and she will hold on to the mic so we social distance and don't contaminate the mic and all those wonderful other things. With that, I'm going to introduce Mark Baker, who is the principal with Wooden Partners. And Mark's team designed the exterior of the Spring Lake Pavilion. They did the exterior of the Spring Lake pool. And he's going to introduce Tom Parker, who designed the building, the Spring Lake Pavilion building, and I believe Tom also worked on the bathhouses for the pool. So without further ado, Mark, you're on.
Peter, thank you. And thank all of you for coming. Again, I'm Mark Baker, President of Wooden Partners. We're thrilled to be here today. What another exciting project that the community has moving forward.
And I apologize. Where's Glenn Stanford, who's in the audience? Glenn Stanford is one of the council members up for re-election this year. Glenn is one of the two council members, Bill Harkins is the other, who represent the Hilton Head Plantation. So we wanted to point Glenn out, and on November 3rd, remember Glenn.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Again, Mark Baker, President of Wooden Partners. We're very pleased and excited to be part of this this next phase of improving Hilton Head Plantation as landscape architects and land planners. We frequently, as we're traveling around the Southeast, presenting to other communities, showing this site and Dolphin Head Bluff as a great example of how you take a residential community and really amenitize it to make a great place. As a resident here in the community, my wife and I frequently ride the bluff. What a great asset, right? When you come out on that bluff and you ride along the sound, how blessed we are all here at Hilton Head Plantation to have a great asset. With us here today is Todd Theodore. Todd's the principal in charge of the project with our firm. Todd will be reviewing the plans, and if you can't see them, please refer to your handouts as we go through, so that as he's walking you through, you can see those up close in your hands there. Also, Tom Parker with Parker Design Group is our project architect. We're very excited about the buildings and the elevations and plans that he's got. Tom's going to go over those with us in a minute. But the development of this project is a great example of how a community can take probably one of the most beautiful sites in the entire community and set it aside for public use. And how blessed we are here in Hilton Head Plantation to have this site set aside for all of our enjoyment. It is a bit old, it's getting worn out, and it is in need of revitalization. There's so much potential with this site. We're very excited to see the concept that Todd is going to go over with us and show us how we can really polish this jewel. So what I'm going to do now is turn it over to Todd and let him walk you through, and then Tom's going to talk about the architecture, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Thank you, Mark. Good morning, everyone. We were kind of joking the other day I was joking with Chrissy that we ought to go in the rainmaking business, because every time we try to schedule a meeting, it seems like a rainstorm coming. And we were teased, and we were teased last night, so we were delivered with a beautiful day, so welcome. As Peter said, we started this process last year, kind of in the fall of last year, so almost a year ago. And we met with staff and got feedback from staff, and then there was a community survey that went out. And what's interesting about the community survey was there was 2,000 responses, so it was a very strong response. And one of the interesting things that I noticed that came out of that was 80% of those 2,000 people use this facility at least once a month. And then there was several that said they used it several times a month, and there was actually like 15% that said they used it every day. And that's pretty amazing. And some of the, just in summary, some of the results that came out of that survey was that obviously this is, the natural beauty of this place is important. It's important to preserve it. And I kind of disagree with what Mark said. I think this is the prettiest spot on Hilton Head. I remember coming here in the early 80s and meeting some parents' friends, and they brought us here because they thought this was the most important place to really experience Hilton Head. So it's a special place. And Mark and I have both lived in Hilton Head Plantation for 22 years, and my kids have grown up here. We use this facility. We would take walks and bike rides on the bluff and all that. So we've enjoyed this facility for many years. But the other priority feedback that we got from the survey was the trails. Trails were number one, the most important thing of the area, and open space was important as well. And then in addition, the feedback on the building, that obviously the building is aged, and that there were complaints, for some reason about that restroom facility. And then parking was concerned, and it was kind of twofold. It was that there needed to be better parking, but wanted to make sure there wasn't too much parking so that it doesn't destroy the atmosphere. And then ultimately, that whatever we do here is kind of a light touch that's very respectful of the environment and tries to enhance that experience as well. So that was what came out of that survey. And I was joking about, there was also great feedback on specific items that people wrote in. And there was a spa, and then there was a hot tub, a wine bar, and a restaurant, and then there was Gaga Ball. Yeah, so I've never heard of that before, so I had to look that one up. But once we had all that information, we absorbed it. We met with staff and the recreation committee a couple times, and met with the board, and went through several iterations of some concepts, and ultimately came up with this master plan. And what I'd like to do is, and it's probably easier for everybody to kind of look at the handout, and if anybody doesn't have a handout, there's some over here in the box over here on the table. So I'm going to start with the first page, and this is kind of what we call the conceptual master plan. And in general, when you look at the right-hand side, and I'll stand over here by the poster, I'm calling this the Port Royal Sound Bluff. And the recommendations on that is to enhance the existing bluff, put some shell-type aggregate down on the pavement so that it's a little easier to traverse. Replace some of the aged landscaping that's over there, and then if you haven't seen it, it's been kind of ravaged by several of the hurricanes the past few years, so some of the trees are gone. And so the recommendation is to re-landscape some of that with native landscaping. Replace the sidewalk on the upper side because it's real narrow and it's very difficult to traverse and not very safe. And then it could become a place for a passive area to overlook the sound, and there could be benches and things like that. So kind of a soft touch over there. And then, the core area is this building is past its time. So our recommendation is to replace this facility. Part of the survey recommended that it be expanded as well. And then there was concerns about this deck area, that it's too broken up and that it needs to be kind of connected, and then have a better relationship with the building as well. And Tom will go over that specifics. But the idea is that this building and the deck would be in the same area. It takes advantage of the bluff. It takes advantage of this bulkhead area over here where we can get closer to the water. And ideally, this is the area where if you look this way, you can see sunrise, and if you look this way, you can see sunset. So there's a great opportunity at this vista. In addition, the area all along this waterfront would have some group fire pit area, some seating areas, picnic tables, and again, this would be paved with some type of aggregate type pavement as well, so very soft and natural touch. But the idea is to try to integrate this whole area as part of the deck and as part of the building so they all relate to one another. So when there's an event like this, it's very easy for people to utilize the deck, as Tom will share with you, a porch area, and then in the spaces around the perimeter as well. To this side of the clubhouse, you'll see kind of a circular area, and what we proposed is a event lawn area over here, where this could create an opportunity to have outdoor movies, and again, that would be some spillover space for event activities. There could be weddings from that area as well, and kind of clean up this area a little bit and make it a little more accessible as well. And then adjacent to it, just throwing out an idea out here on the point, is maybe in the future could be some type of overlook structure so that you could climb up it and look across and see Paris Island and see all across the sound out here as well. It could be a great opportunity for distant views. And then over on this side is is the playground, and that's over here. We would get rid of the sand, we would add more play structures over here, and the play structures would be very nature blending, so it'd be kind of a nature themed type playground. And we begin to address what they call inclusive use, where it's ADA accessible, it addresses multiple age groups and that sort of thing. So there'll be several play structures and things over here. In addition, instead of the sand, there will be a rubberized surface, so it's much cleaner, safer, and again, it'll have like earth tone colors and things like that in the finish of it, but it'll be nature blending playground as well. We will preserve a sandbox area, so there will be a place where we'll kind of keep that character of having a sand area for kids to play in. And then one of the comments was the basketball court over here seems to have a great waterfront view. It felt like that was kind of impeding and kind of in too much of a prominent space, so we're actually going to move the basketball area off to the side. You can see that highlighted over here as a rectangle. And then throughout all this area would be accessible through pathways and things like that. So, and the other thing to keep in mind that as we're doing this, we're trying to preserve all these trees out here as well. So it's quite a network of trees to try and work around. And then, in addition, over on the other side of the playground will be a pavilion, like a picnic pavilion. So that could be something that is separate from this area, and smaller events could take place over there. Plus, if there's a kid's birthday party or something like that with the playground, there could be a place to do that sort of thing. And then as you work your way further towards the point, towards Pine Island, it becomes more naturalized. There's a fire pit area that I call the Wilderness Fire Pit. There's times when the scouts come out here and do stuff as group activities, and it'd be a great area for them to utilize something like that. And then one of the comments that came was that the bluff basically stops right here, the bluff pathway, and just over time, there's kind of a beaten path over here along the waterfront. What we want to do is enhance that, and make that like this area over here. So it'll become fully accessible, and it'll go all the way over to the Pine Island boardwalk. So it'll be a connection now that'll tie all the way over there. Plus, that'll give easier maintenance for them, for the plantation to maintain the shoreline over there as well. So that's kind of the waterfront area. The other strong feedback, as I mentioned, was the trails. And what we've suggested on the plan is interconnecting pathways at Dolphin Head Lane. There is no pathway along that. This is adding a pathway to connect that over to this area. And then internal pathways that tie everything together. And then maybe take advantage of some of the wooded area that's off on the other side of the entrance road, where that can have some more naturalized mulch paths and things like that. But the idea is to begin to tie all that together and then clean up the access over to Pine Island, because of through the years it's kind of poorly defined of how you get from the parking area that's here over to the boardwalk. So we want to clean that up and make that clearly identifiable path. And then feedback was it'd be great to have a dog wash for the dogs that people take out onto the beach area, maybe a drinking fountain and things like that as well. And then kind of a detail, but in addition, we're going to have to allow access for the big sand trucks that come in periodically and re-nourish the beach up here as well, to try to address that in addition. So that's in summary where we are with the master plan. If you go to the second page, there's an enlargement of the playground and clubhouse area, and pretty much covered everything, but wanted to point out that there's concerns about access to the pavilion building. How it exists today was to make sure there's plenty of accessible routes to the building, bike parking as well, and clearly visible in how you get to the building. Service area, it'll be off to the side over here and concealed from view as well. And then right here, that's part of the playground area. That would be the rubberized surface. In addition, if you notice that a lot of the playground shapes, the sidewalks, the pathways, all of it is kind of naturalized, curvilinear, so there's no real straight edges and things like that, other than around the deck area. If you go to the third page, you begin to see some perspectives that we put together. And the third page is, I believe it's this one, where it just shows the example of the clubhouse in the corner, the deck wraps around to the side of the clubhouse, and then the event lawn area, which would be over here, and then the playground would begin to wrap around that way, so it gives you a view of what that would look like. And then the next page is a view looking over here from the bluff at the corner of the back deck area, and how this waterfront edge would be treated. And you can see a fire pit and some Adirondack chairs and some picnic tables and stuff. And this would be some type of soft aggregate shell pavement on the ground as well. So then the next page just shows an example of the playground, the structures, and if you notice they're kind of nature themed. They kind of have a tree type character to some of the structures, and all the colors are kind of earth tone. They're either light browns, dark browns, and greens. And then on the last perspective, just another view of the playground area. This would be on the other side of the playground, looking back towards this way as well. And again, all types of different play structures are in there, and it was important to maintain a large swing set over there as well. That there was a lot of feedback that people liked that as part of the playground element. And if you notice, the basketball court, is pulled away now. That the playground is directly kind of in between the waterfront and the parking area and all that. So the basketball area is pulled off to the side. And then you go to the next page, and there's just some character images of some of the things that just set the tone of what some of these things may look like as well. And as Peter said, some of these things, may be phased elements in the future. But here's your idea of how it's sort of a nature-based design thing. And I'm going to turn it over to Tom Parker now.
Thank you, Todd. I don't know. I have to turn it up a little bit. Well, I get to take my mask off, so that's a happy day for me. My name is Tom Parker. I'm with PDG Architects, and part of the team that's working on this project. We've done several designs for the replacement of this structure that I think everyone has fond memories of parties here and how great this has performed over the years. But we think it's probably time to move on to the next level. Several of the designs we looked at, one of them it was kind of organized around a wine bar, which was one of my favorite ones, but unfortunately we didn't end up with that, so don't get too excited. The theme here was that we wanted to have a structure that didn't overpower the site. We wanted to blend into the site, be of a new modern scale, but still fit under the trees, still be respectful of the neighborhood, the views that folks have behind the building existing from homes, those sort of things. As you approach the site, we wanted to have the same feel and scale and sort of rhythm and location. So this is obviously what everyone determined was the best location for the building. We wanted the theme, the architecture ended up being we sort of studied the low country waterfront cottages of the area, and that's sort of where we ended up, was we wanted this to look like a cottage that may have been here for 50, 60, 80 years when it's all said and done. So the scale has a low roof, wraparound porch, the service facilities, which where the bathrooms are located, that has a roof that runs down from the higher plate down to a low plate, so that when you come up to the building, what you're really seeing is a roof, and then the building sort of builds up behind the roof as you approach the site and opens up to the water in the back. The current building is 20 by 32. So we have this space that everyone's familiar with, 20 by 32. The new space, just the space that would correspond to this, so the entertaining space, the space where you would have gatherings, is 28 by 48. So the actual heated space is not 3 times as big as what we have now. Okay, somebody do the math for me. 47% more. 47% bigger. So the actual entertaining space is 47% bigger. Also included is a restroom facility that you don't have to go outside to get to. So our restrooms are going to be accessible during the day. You can come over and go through a door without going through the building. That'll be open. But if you're having a party, you'll be able to go out of the space into a back hall area and then go where the bathrooms are. So there's some privacy things that are addressed there. You'll have a good experience if you're having a party here. It'll be a good experience for everyone who's using the space. The space itself is a cathedral ceiling, exposed rafters. There's some dormers up high, that shed roof dormers you'll see on the rendering, that allow light to come in from above. There's windows on the gable ends of the space that will also allow light to come in from above. And this is critical because we have a new screen porch element that wraps around the structure. And, sounds like an emergency. So we have a screen porch structure that wraps around the heated space of the building. And we have large sliding glass doors. This is a schematic design, so right now they're a pretty conventional 16-foot wide, 8-foot tall doors that are biparting in the middle. So you'll be able to open up those doors, and the interior space will then flow out onto the screen porch, so it becomes a bigger space. On a beautiful day like today, you can have that space opened up and really have a nice experience. If you're just coming down in the evening and you want to sit and it's so buggy, I mean, we all know how that is sometimes here. You can just go and sit in the screen porch, and it's more of a residential scale sort of space. And you can sit there with the family and do whatever you want, have a glass of wine or whatever. But be out of the bugs, but still take advantage of this view. And it's an L-shaped porch, so several groups can use it at once and kind of have your own space. There is a fireplace. It'll be brick, oversized, so that it is a real focal point for the space, unlike what we have now. There'll be a roll down. The space will be set up with AV, so you'll be able to come down and have meetings, lecture space. We have seating for 70 in a lecture format, so with chairs, looking at a screen. There's a roll down screen. There'll be a projector built in. So that'll function really nicely. The kitchen is expanded a bit, and it still needs to be, fleshed out on the actual details. But there's storage. There's all the things that are missing now. We've put into the plan. Tables and chairs. If you're having a party, when you sit down with tables and chairs, 6 tops, so 6 people at a table, 50 people. 60 sort of max if you don't want to have a space up in the front. Over to the side, there's a door that comes into the back of the kitchen. There's lighting and extra plugs back there, so if you want to have a caterer come, he can set up back there and bring the food into the kitchen and come in that way. So trying to think of all those sort of things that this space has done over the years that we've sort of cobbled together and make work. We're trying to get all those elements that make it function for all the different uses that this building can do day in and day out. I think that's pretty much it. We've got our drawings over here. Y'all can take a look at that. The rendering shows the colors. People ask about materials a lot. We'll investigate this. Right now it's rendered with shingles, so those would be and this needs to be a low-maintenance building, so those would be a cement shingle. We'd love to use a cedar shingle, but that's a maintenance issue. So we'll use a cement shingle or PVC shingle, which we're using a lot of now, and it'll be a budget analysis, but very low maintenance. It's shingle with cement trim, aluminum clad windows, true divided light. It's a 3/1 double hung window right now, so it has a real cottagey sort of feel. So it should blend in and sort of be the focal point of this corner of the site with the activity area beyond there.
We're going to have questions in a minute. I wanted to add to Tom's comment. I had a summary earlier. The building is basically 1,300 square feet. That includes the restrooms, kitchen, common space, 280 square feet of porch, and 850 square feet of wraparound screen porch. In comparison, the existing building was 2,400 square feet, so a little bit bigger. And certainly provides this now outdoor protected space from the bugs and things like that as well. And one of the intent of the design of the building is to have this direction as a focal point, but also have that direction as a focal point. So now it's a two-sided building, and you can have an event going on over here, or you can have an event going on over here, or you can have a large event going on. So it's trying to address all that. I can't remember, Tom, if you talked about the restroom, that it's indoor and outdoor, so it's accessible outside as well. So in the deck as well, just to have a comparison, the proposed deck is about 3,000 square feet, and again, it'll all be combined as one, and the existing deck is 2,400. This is all 2,400 square feet, so a little bit bigger. But
And it'll all be at one level. It won't have this. It almost fell off.
I don't know if there's anything else, Tom. So we're ready for questions.